The night smelled of salt and rust, the kind that clung to skin and stayed. Detective Mills stood still, trench coat heavy with damp, cigarette amber glowing like a faint beacon. Beside him, Amelia crouched, her notebook open, pen scratching fast as though afraid silence might swallow the truth. The body lay twisted, rope digging into bruised flesh, eyes already glassy from the tide. On the dock boards, a crude symbol had been carved, sharp lines cutting into the green like a message no one wanted to read. "This isn't random," Amelia murmured, brushing her hair back as the wind whipped it forward again. Mills exhaled smoke, watching it dissolve into the fog like a prayer unfinished. The symbol reminded him of a broken compass, pointing nowhere yet demanding to be followed. For a moment he thought about how often he'd lost his own direction. "We're not chasing shadows," he said quietly, though it felt like a lie. The fog thickened, closing around them, and the docks fell silent. Something larger was already moving beneath the surface. Rain drummed against tall windows as Mills and Amelia sat across from Lydia Hara. Her black dress was pressed sharp, her hands folded too neatly in her lap. Mills studied her face, tired eyes searching for cracks in the porcelain mask she wore. "You knew the man at the docks," he said, voice low, almost a growl. Her reply came smooth, rehearsed, like lines practiced in front of a mirror. But Amelia noticed the faint twitch of her left hand at the mention of the victim's name. It was small, but it rippled through the room like glass bidering under pressure. The widow's gaze held steady, though her eyes were too polished, too reflective, as if hiding behind them. Amelia thought of a fading photograph, colors drained, the truth blurred until nothing was certain. Mills leaned back, smoke curling from his cigarette, eyes narrowing. "We'll be in touch," he said, though the weight in his tone promised more than words. Outside, the rain felt heavier, as if the sky knew something was breaking. The rain had not let up, and Mills felt the damp cling into his bones as they entered the dock office. Papers were stacked in uneven piles, the smell of mildew mixing with stale coffee. Amelia moved carefully, flipping open ledgers filled with crooked numbers and missing sums. "Someone's been bleeding this place dry," she whispered, tracing the gaps with her pen. Mills lit another cigarette, smoke curling upward like a tired confession. In the corner, a fire pit still smoldered, embers glowing faintly against the dark. Amelia knelt, pulling out a charred scrap, the edge of a ledger page blackened but not gone. The name Crane surfaced through the ash, jagged letters half devoured by flame. Mills stared at it the way one stares a worn-down path, familiar, inevitable, dangerous. "Silas Crane," he muttered, as though the name itself carried weight. The fire hissed, swallowing the silence, and the shadows seemed to shift closer. Outside, the storm pressed harder, as if warning them what waited ahead. The interrogation room smelled of dust and old smoke, the kind that never left. Silas Crane sat hunched, shoulders broad enough to block the light behind him. Mills leaned forward, voice sharp, pressing questions that cut like knives. But Crane said nothing, his silence a wall thicker than any dockside brick. Amelia watched closely, her eyes catching the small betrayals he couldn't hide. His hand trembled when the victim's name was spoken, tapping the table in uneven rhythm. The sound reminded her of a cracked metronome, steady once, now broken, unable to keep time. Mills slammed his fist, frustration flaring, but the man's silence only deepened the room's weight. "He's scared," Amelia said quietly, her pen pausing mid-note. Mills looked at her, the truth settling like dust after a collapse. Fear, not guilt, held the foreman's tongue. The silence felt less like defiance and more like warning. The bar was dim, its air thick with stale liquor and cigarette haze. Mills sat slouched in the corner booth, glass untouched, eyes heavy with sleepless nights. Amelia spread the files across the sticky table, her note sharp against the blur of smoke. "Widow, foreman, ducks," she said, tapping the pages. "It all circles back." Mills leaned closer, his voice rough. "Circles don't matter unless they have a center." His hand froze on a sketch of the carved dock symbol, lines etched like a scar. He stared, memory pulling him backward to cases buried deep in dust. The symbol was no mystery, it was the insignia of a smuggling ring thought long dead. It was like a forgotten song resurfacing, the notes bitter, undeniable, impossible to unhear. Mills' cigarette dropped, burning out against the ashtray as the weight of it settled. Amelia looked at him, breath caught, eyes wide. The past wasn't finished. It was clawing its way back,